for this class, we are using 2 yoga blocks. Actually, yeah, 2 yoga blocks. I am using a medium band, probably a medium or light band is what you want to use. I have a dowel rod. If you don't have a dowel rod, a broomstick or a ski pole or anything that is straight and long will work. We will definitely be using a blanket. I didn't put that in the little email, but we're definitely using the blanket. And then I have a 5-pound weight. I've been playing with this. It's kind of heavy for what we're doing. So if shoulder strength, shoulder stability is something that concerns you, I would either use the block or use lighter than 5 pounds. There is one thing that we can do with the 5 pounds fairly easy. So it doesn't really matter. You can also do it with a lighter one. So I'm going to move the weight out of the way because we're not going to use it until later. So I'm just kind of scooting it out of the way because we're going to need the space in front of us and behind us when we're lying down. So you're going to start with one block towards the top of your mat. And then the other block, maybe about a foot away from it. And you can adjust it as needed. It's probably easier to adjust the top block than the bottom block. Then you're going to take your blanket. I have it folded pretty small for lots of cushioning. And you're going to lie the blanket over the block. And then you're going to rest on whatever side. We're going to do both sides, so it doesn't matter. So it's probably best to face me the first time. But where you're looking to put the block is kind of the rib cage, right? So it can go a little down in your waist. You can adjust. But really what we're looking for here is this region of your rib cage lying across the block. And then your head will rest on the block. I have mine at the flattest level because I actually want to create a little bit of a curve on my upper side rib cage. I'm going to bring my knees right out in front of my hips. And then I'm going to take my top hand. Elbow can bend, but I'm going to reach my fingers, tent my fingers, and bring them to rest on the head, on the floor right above my head. So elbows kind of pointing up towards the sky. And then just close your eyes and begin to breathe. So in this position with the block underneath the rib cage, you may feel that your breath moves a little bit more easily in the rib cage that is not resting on the block. So consciously with each inhalation, try to expand that side of your rib cage. In each exhalation, let the breath soften and notice if you feel the ribs come back together. So we're working on the shoulder today, and we're doing some work with the shoulder blades and some work with the shoulder joint. Keep your eyes closed and just start to roll your head like you're shaking your head no. I sometimes like to think of drawing a line from the floor to the ceiling with my nose. So the neck and your rib cage and the spine that your rib cage is attached to, your thoracic spine, all will play into how well your shoulder works or does not work. Bring the head back just to keep it still and breathe again. Consciously breathing again into the rib cage. And then turn your palm to face the same direction that your nose is pointing. Keep your elbow bent, and as you exhale, try to tap your rib cage with your elbow. And then as you inhale, bring the fingers back to touch the floor above your head. So now we're moving the elbow kind of in the same plane that your ear and your rib cage are in. So keep the elbow pointing up towards the sky as you just go down and up. And close your eyes and begin to feel how your shoulder blade moves and let your shoulder blade move. So it should have a natural rhythm as you make this movement. And then the next time you bring the fingers to the floor, tent the fingers again and take 3 more breaths. And you may have noticed when you started that there was a little tenderness on the side of the rib cage that was resting on the block. You may feel that that has released a little bit, softened a little bit. It's also intentional for this shoulder class. Then bring your forearm to rest on your rib cage with the palm pointing straight down to the ground, elbows bent at 90 degrees. We're going to start to make some circles. Last week we moved the rib cage. This time we're keeping the rib cage still and we're moving the shoulder blade around the rib cage. So as you bring the fingers out in front of you, bend the elbow, stack the elbow on top of the rib cage, straighten the arm, move it over your head. So draw that semicircle, then bend your elbow behind and try to touch the back of your hip with your elbow. And again, closing your eyes helps to bring you more into your body. So just notice, can you keep the rib cage still as you roll your shoulder blade around your rib cage? And notice how much surface of the rib cage you can draw or paint with your shoulder blade. Good. Use your hands to press yourself up. We're going to turn around, and I'm actually going to turn around so that my back faces you so that you can see kind of what's going on from the back side as well. So again, rest your rib cage over your block and blanket. Head is on the block. Make sure shoulder is just resting on the floor out in front of your hips. Bring your top arm over your ear, elbow pointing towards the sky, tenting your fingers up so you can rest them on the floor. So you don't have to do this with a straight arm. Actually, don't do this with a straight arm. Elbows pointing up towards the sky. And first, we're just kind of bringing awareness to the breath. You may notice that you're a little tender on the rib cage. It's on the block. Notice how that changes throughout this practice. But as you consciously breathe into your rib cage, you'll notice that the breath moves a little bit more freely on the rib cage that is not resting on the block. However, we are using the block kind of to release some of that tension in the muscles that are on the block. And keep your eyes closed and start to nod your head no, or if you prefer, think of drawing a line straight down from the floor and then up to the sky, straight out in front of you. So we're doing this gently, releasing some tension in the neck, our neck muscles. A lot of them are actually muscles that control the shoulder blade, like our traps and our levator and even the pecs. And then hold your head still and take a few more breaths. And then turn your palm to face the same direction as your nose. And you're going to bend your elbow down to touch your rib cage. And then keep it pointing up to the sky as you tap your fingers on the floor above your head. And just do that a few times. And we're just sensing how the shoulder blade glides on your rib cage. So notice that connection of your shoulder blade and your rib cage. It's a joint. It's a weird joint, but it is a joint. And then this time, tent the fingers, take a few more breaths. So this is creating some space in the sides of the ribs, stretching your lats. So there's lots going on here to prepare us for the shoulder class. And then that final move is the semicircle. Start with your elbow bent and stacked on top of your rib cage. And then reach your arm straight, bringing it over your hand that's on the floor. You're going to draw a semicircle over your head, and then behind your back, bend your elbow as if you're going to tap the back of your hip. And just repeat these semicircles, moving into sensing that your rib cage and spine are staying still, but your shoulder blade is kind of painting a big circle on your rib cage. And the ribs go all the way to the spine, right? So the majority of our back is actually our rib cage. Good. Use your hands to press up. We're going to move one of the blocks out of the way. The blanket's going to come out of the way for a minute as well. Don't put the block above your mat like I just did, because you're going to need that space above your head. We're going to roll onto our back. You can have the block or the blanket supporting your head. As if you use that option, make sure that your chin is moving towards your throat, so it's not propped up towards the sky. It's going to drop towards the throat. That's creating more space in the back of your neck. Take your arms wide, T to the body. Start with your palms up and see if you can just flip your palms to face down and face up. And notice that all of the movement is coming from the wrist and the forearms. And then the next time, can you flip the elbows too? So can you flip the palms down and up, but let the elbows also feel like they're creating some of that movement? And then now, can you also flip palm, elbow, roll the heads of the shoulders towards the feet, roll back, maybe the palms face down, and you feel the shoulder heads roll towards the floor behind you. So see if you can bring the entire arm into this movement. And I'm kind of tenting my fingers up and trying to tap my fingers both down, and then thumb points up and taps down. And I have more rotation in one shoulder than the other. So just notice that. Good. Then bend your elbows 90 degrees. So wrists are over your elbows, and elbows are in a straight line from your shoulders. Now let your forearms go towards the floor beside your ears, and then go the opposite way. Forearms go towards the floor. So for just a second, watch what I want you to avoid. So I can bring this hand down if I lift my shoulder off the floor, but that's not true internal rotation. It's dumping the head of my shoulder forward. So when you come to forearm towards the floor, keep the shoulder blade on the floor. So can you just feel the rotation and the shoulder joint and keep the shoulder still? And notice if you feel that that's harder in one shoulder than the other. And then take the forearms to rest on the floor beside your ears, and you're going to glide them up, and you're going to glide them down towards your rib cage. So keep the spine pretty still. So only take the elbows as close to your rib cage as you cannot lift your ribs off the floor. So we're kind of priming all the movements in the shoulder joint. So this is more of a somatic. You're noticing what you feel. We're not necessarily trying to change anything yet. And come back to where your elbows are bent to 90 degrees. Take your forearms towards the floor beside your hips. Keep the shoulder blades on the floor, and then just straighten and bend your elbows. Good. Reach both arms so that your wrists are lined above your shoulders, fingertips reaching towards the sky. Keep the spine on the floor and lift now the shoulder blades away from the floor and then draw them towards your shoulder blades. So you're reaching the fingertips as high towards the sky without moving the spine. And then you're trying to plant all of the shoulder blade on the floor. Feel them go towards your spine. Good. Again, you're not lifting the rib cage away from the floor. You're only trying to move your shoulder blades. And then try to do one arm and the opposite arm. And when you do this, there is a slight rotation in the spine. So you can allow that. Good. We're going to roll onto whatever side you need to face me so you can see what we're doing. This time we're just using the blanket and we still have the block for our head. So your rib cage is going to rest on your blanket. This time it's not to create more space, but it's to allow your shoulder to rest directly under and away from your ear. So I kind of have my upper arm resting right in line with my blanket. And just for a second, notice what I'm not doing is stretching the shoulder forward. And I'm also not pulling it so far back that my head isn't resting forward. So just take a time to bring your shoulder away from your ear and then bend your elbow to 90 degrees. Make a fist. I'm going to bring my hand in front of my shoulder that's on the ground to keep it still. And I'm just going to move the arm towards the blanket and then towards my head. And it's staying bent at 90 degrees. So just kind of notice what kind of range of motion and where you're limited. So I'm pretty limited in internal rotation right now. It's almost straight up and down from my elbow. If I wanted to get more rotation, I could lift my shoulder this way, but that's not what I'm looking for because that's not true rotation. So bring it as close to your thighs as you can, and then straighten your legs out in front of you. Stack your top hip directly on top of your bottom hip. We're going to take the arm that's on top and you're going to place it directly behind, on top of your forearm. And you're going to use your elbow to move yourself passively a little bit more into internal rotation. Don't let your shoulder lift towards your ears. That's not internal rotation, that's elevation of your shoulder. And then you're going to hold here. And you're just going to create a little bit of light pressure with this top arm, moving the elbow towards your fist. And you're just going to take 3 breaths. So we're easing any restriction we feel currently in our shoulder, anywhere in the shoulder. So we're not pushing so far that we're straining. We're just kind of holding where we naturally can go. And then I'm going to start to push hard my fist into my elbow. And what you're going to notice is if you push too hard without awareness of your shoulder that's on the ground, it'll lift up towards your ear to make you feel like you're stronger. So keep pulling that shoulder away from the ear. The shoulder blade's not going down. You're just not letting it lift. So you're kind of holding it, locking it in place. And you're really pressing your fist into the bottom of your top forearm. And then you're going to keep your top forearm where it is and pull the bottom arm away from it. And you'll notice that perhaps you got a little bit more range of motion. So you're going to take the top arm and meet it where it is. Maybe add a little passive stretch without letting this bottom shoulder lift away from lift towards your ear. And then you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to start to push the back of your hand or your fist of the arm that you're working into your forearm. You don't want to feel pain. You just want to feel like you're using muscles. Some of that may feel like a stretch or a slight strain. There's a difference between strain and pain, so manage that. Keep your forearm, the top forearm where it is, and see if you can pull your bottom arm away from it a little bit more. Then we're going to remove that top hand and see as you go through your range of motion, do you have a little bit more range of motion into internal rotation? So when the fist goes towards the thigh, back of the wrist stays flat, that's internal rotation. Keep the blanket where it is and roll onto your belly. The blanket is under your rib cage, but not under your hips. You're going to take the block between your two hands, palms. We're not gripping it. We're trying to hold it between the palms. Take your forehead to the floor. Walk your elbows forward and then bend your elbows, trying to touch the back of your head with the block. So you're just going to do that a couple of times, bending and then straightening the arms. All the while you're pressing the palms, not gripping with the fingers around the block, pressing the palms to hold the block. Next time you bend the elbow, stay there. See if you can walk your elbows a little further towards the front edge of your mat and hold, and press your palms firmly into the block. Press your elbows down into the floor, and as if you're going to pull them towards your feet. Shoulder blades continue to stay away from the ear. Tips of the shoulder blades move down. You'll notice that it's impossible to squeeze your shoulder blades together here. And that's good. Good. Release the block to the floor. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders, press up. And we're going to do the second side. I am going to adjust because me back facing does not do you any good. So the block is for the head. Again, we're resting the rib cage on the blanket. I kind of had the blanket in line with my armpit. And then I make sure my shoulder is away from my ear and it's right stacked underneath the shoulder on top. Make a fist, and we're going to test the range of motion that we currently have. So you're going knuckles towards thighs and then top of the forearm to the floor. All the while, you want to try to keep your wrist as flat as possible. Sometimes we think we're getting more range of motion by extending and flexing the wrist. Keep the wrist flat. If you really grip your wrist, if you really squeeze your grip, you'll be able to keep your wrist straighter easier. And the next time you come into the internal rotation, find your current range of motion without your shoulder blade lifting. Then stack your other forearm on top. And then see passively, can you take it into a little bit more of that internal rotation? Notice if you're bending your wrist away from your forearm, so keep the wrist flat. And just take 3 breaths in this passive stretch. And notice as you passively stretch how much this shoulder, the bottom shoulder, wants to release and go towards the ear so you can get further. Keep resisting that down. And then start to push your fist into your top forearm. And you're going pretty hard here. So the harder, the more force you can push into your upper forearm without letting your shoulder rise, the more you are creating kind of an awareness in those muscles of your shoulder. I forgot to tell you to take your leg straight out in front of you. And then pull your bottom arm away without bending your wrist. And then match. Bring your top forearm to match your bottom. So you're working with a new range. Bottom shoulder away from your ear, and then start to push or fist into top forearm. You might feel some strain, but you don't want to feel pain. So kind of manage that difference. push a little harder, and then pull your fist away again. And then you can take your top forearm off and again, try to move through your new range of motion. Good. And then we're going to come back onto our bellies. Rib cage is still lying on your blanket. You can move the block out of the way. Forehead starts on the floor. Take your thumbs and tap the top of your shoulders. And then bring your palms down to the ground. So shoulders our thumbs are in line with shoulders. And then you're going to slide the palms in line with your shoulders above your head. So that if you turned your head to the right, you'd be looking straight at your elbow crease. And then turn your forehead back to the floor. Press through your palms and lift your chest away from the floor. So do that a couple of times. Lift your chest. Instead of lifting your head, lift your chest away from the floor. Go down, lift your chest away from the floor. Or if it's more specific, lift your heart away from the floor. And then keep lifting your heart away from the floor. Bring your right arm straight forward, tent your fingers, and then tap your elbow back. Switch to the other side, tent your fingers, tap them to the ground as you straighten your left arm and bring them back. Keep lifting your heart away from the floor as you alternate tapping one arm forward and then bringing it back. So the only thing that's moving is one arm. So your hips aren't moving side to side. Your rib cage isn't shifting side to side. You're just tapping and bringing back. Tapping and bringing back. Good. Hands underneath your shoulders, press up. And we're going to come to a seated position. Two options to sit. If you're working on increasing kind of being with your knees bent, you can sit on a block with your knees bent. Or if you don't want to work on your knees, you can sit in a cross-legged position. Doesn't really matter. We are going to be in this position for a while, and you will be coming to this position eventually. So choose well, but make sure you're sitting on your sit bones. Take both of your arms out to the side in line with your shoulders. And then we did this on our back. Can you rotate just your wrists down and up? So palms face up, palms face down. Now, can you look and see, can you move just from your elbows down? And now, can you move it from your shoulders? So can you allow your shoulders to dump forward, palms face up with thumbs pointing back? And can you roll them down? So feel your shoulder blades move. So the rotation is not just coming from the joint. You also are allowing your shoulder blades to move. Good. The next time you come, thumbs point up, then point forward, then point down. Bring your arms behind your back. And then take them wide. Turn palms up. Turn palms down. Sweep them behind your back. So now we're going to continue to do this. Notice as you bring your shoulders back, can you resist dumping the shoulders forward? Palms point up. Roll. Keep the chest lifted as you bring the hands behind your back. Good. Turn the palms up. Bring the arms over your head. And now touch your upper back between your shoulders. Lift up. Bring it down. Turn the thumbs down. Turn the thumbs up. reach up to a Y, bend the elbows, touch behind your back. Thumbs point down without dumping, point up, reach up. Good. Wrap your hands, give yourself a little break. Stack the other hand on top. Allow your shoulder blades to round around your rib cage. And we're going to put these together. So take your arms straight out to the side. Keep your shoulders, the heads of the shoulders from rolling forward, but turn the whole arm forward. Reach behind your back. Reach your hands up as far up your back as you can. Bring them out to the side. Flip your palms. Reach up and bring it behind your back. So I'm going to turn around. Keep doing this just so you can see what this looks like from behind. So you're trying to touch between your shoulder blades. Thumbs point down. And you're trying to reach as far up as you can. Let your arms rest at your side. Kind of shake it out. Let your arms be heavy. So the next thing is to do one arm one way, one arm the other way. We can call this an infinity if you'd like to. So take your arms out to the side. You're going to turn your right palm up. Keep your left palm turning down and even facing backwards. Your one arm's going to go up. The other arms, the left arm's going to go up your shoulder blades. Good. Take them out to the side, flip the opposite way. So left palm up, right palm faces backwards, and switch. So each time pausing in the middle to get that rotation in the shoulder joints. But notice, can you do this without moving your spine? And you might not have the range of motion that I do. So kind of working at whatever level, whatever range you currently have. Good. Let the arms hang at your side. And now I'm going to turn to face the side so that you can see me. So we're going to take the other block. And you're going to place it between your palms again. So again, try to resist squeezing the block. You can if you need to, especially if you have a cork block and your shoulders are really not as strong as you want them right now. But if you can press into the palms, you're going to create more stability on the shoulder joint, which is also, we're looking for mobility here today, but we're also looking for shoulder stability. So bring the arms straight out in front of you. I like to even take my fingers off the block. So imagine that you're going to pass the block out further in front of you without leaning forward. And then you're sucking your shoulders into the socket. So you're kind of gliding forward and gliding back. And you'll notice as you reach forward, the shoulder blades wrap around the sides. And as you suck it back, you'll feel the shoulder blades move towards your spine. Bring it above your head and do the same thing. So pass it up towards the sky and then take it down. Push it up, take it down. Push it up, take it down. Good. So we just prime the shoulder blade a little bit. Now we're going to move to the dowel rod. And at this time, if you're not on your knees already, go ahead and come onto your knees. You can prop the block up to whatever level is comfortable for you. So if you need a higher level, or if you need to stack two blocks on top of each other, you can also do that. We're going to start with the dowel rod in our right hand. You're going to reach pretty high up the dowel rod. And you're going to take it straight out in front of your right knee. But you want it to be able to go to an angle. And then you're going to lean forward. So imagine that you were going to drive this dowel rod hard into the floor. So start to push down with your hand. Take your left hand to your left rib cage and physically push the rib cage up into the shoulder blade, right? So I'm drawing my ribs away from the floor, but I find it helpful to physically push my rib cage back and up so it stabilizes the shoulder blade on the side of my rib cage and start to push hard. And again, this is another one of those places that you might feel strain, but you don't want to feel pain. If you feel pain, just slide the arm further down the dowel rod, right? So we all have different ranges of flexion. Lisa, lean forward even more. There you go. Push hard. And then keep everything still. Can you lift the dowel rod off the floor? Bring the dowel rod back down, push hard. Chest is squared forward. I'm moving the rib cage up to support my shoulder blade, and I'm trying to stake the floor with the dowel rod. And about every 2 or 3 seconds, I'm getting a little bit more forceful of how hard I'm pushing down. And then can you keep everything still and just lift the dowel rod off the floor? Good. We're going to keep the dowel rod. I'm going to move now to face you. We're going to bring the dowel rod right inside your right knee. I'm not mirroring you right now. And then take your forearm on the inside of the dowel rod and the palm on the outside of the dowel rod. We're going to again move the rib cage back. And then you're going to take your left hand behind your head and you're going to rotate your rib cage towards and away. The dowel rod is not moving. You're moving the rib cage inside of the shoulder blade. So Barbara, keep the dowel rod still as you rotate just your rib cage towards and away from your arm. So the dowel rod straight up and down. Good. And then we're going to work a little bit with external rotation. So now I'll take it inside your inner thigh. Let the dowel rod go out to the side. And you're just going to push your palm into the dowel rod. And this is probably where I feel the most strain. So I'm not trying to overdo this. I might even take it a little further, the dowel rod a little further forward, but I'm pushing my hand and my forearm or my elbow into the dowel rod. So I am working external rotation in my shoulder with my shoulder resting away from my ear. Remove the dowel rod. We're going to do one more thing on this arm, and then we're going to repeat it all on the other side. So you stay in the same position. I'm just moving so that you can see me. You're going to have the block out in front of your right hand. You're going to come down onto your left elbow. And if being this far back is uncomfortable, you can shift forward. The only reason I like to keep the hips back is because sometimes we borrow from the pelvis. And if you keep the hips back, you're kind of locking it in place. So push the block as far forward as you need to rest the palm on the block with the elbow right straight and your bicep right beside your ear. Then you're going to start to push hard down into the block. So press your palm and feel your outer armpit wrap towards the floor. Move your heart or your chest away from the floor so you're not sinking down. You're moving the chest away as you press the palm down. Keep everything where it is and just lift the palm off the block. So don't roll open. The chest is still facing straight down towards the floor. The biceps just lifting a little further towards your ear. Bring the palm back down and then turn so that the edge of your pinky edge of your hand is on the block. Karate chop the block, lift the chest away from the floor. So you're creating a platform for your shoulder blade to stabilize on. Wrap the outer armpit towards the floor, push down hard. And then again, lift the blade of the hand away from the block. Bring the arm out wide, tap down, lift the thumb up, bring it in, tap on the other side of the block. So we're just going to do this 3 times, like you're tapping on both sides of the block and the arm. Your chest is still moving away from the floor. Good. Lift up. Bring your right arm up, grab the elbow, drop the hand between your shoulder blades, and lean to the left. There's a lot of work on our shoulders. You might want to just swing it around, feel how loosey-goosey it is. And then let's go through all of this on the other side. So we're going to start first with the dowel rod. So dowel rod is in line with your left knee. You're going to bring the arm up as high as you feel comfortable. And then you're going to tilt forward. So almost like your chest is parallel to the ground right between your knees. Then take your right hand and move your rib cage, push it back and up. So it is creating a platform for your shoulder blade. Keep it there and then start to drive the down rod down into the floor. And I have the dowel rod at an angle towards my knee, so it's not right out straight up and down. Again, if this is too much, you can simply just walk your hand down the dowel rod a little bit. And then start to drive a little harder and hold for 3 breaths. Wrap the outer armpit towards the floor. Stay in this position, make sure the rib cage is still in place to support, and then lift the dowel rod off the floor. Hold. Bring the dowel rod back down. Let's do that one more time. So push the dowel rod down into the floor. Move the rib cage into your shoulder blade. Wrap the outer armpit and start to push down hard. Left elbow straight. So you're trying to do all this with a straight arm. And then keep everything still and just lift the dowel rod off the floor. So we're improving flexion ideally in the joint with this. Okay. Remove, sit up. We're going to bring the dowel rod right inside our left knee. Take your left forearm to the inside of your dowel rod and the palm on the outside. And the stake is down, straight down and up. So adjust to where you need so that the rod is straight down and up. Right hand behind your head. And now you're keeping the dowel rod where it is, and you're rotating this right elbow open and close. So we're creating protraction and retraction in your left shoulder blade, but we're moving the rib cage to do that. So instead of moving the shoulder blade around the rib cage, we're moving the rib cage inside of the shoulder blade. Good. And then to work external rotation, you're going to keep this setup, but you're going to take the dowel rod towards your left inner thigh and then drop the arm out to the side. So I can have it linked under my right thigh, but I still have the palm on the outside, and I'm letting the elbow open up to the point where I can. So Barbara, out, open your arm out. Take it to your other thigh. Yep. Wrap it around the other way. Yep. There you go. Yeah. Now you feel the stuff in the shoulder blade. It's always interesting. Press your palm into the dowel rod a little bit more, so creating tension, but not excessive. Like this is one we don't want to work too hard. Good. And remove the dowel rod. And switching the block over to the left side of your mat. We're going to come down onto our right forearm. And left palm is now on the block. Bicep is beside your ear. Move the chest away from the floor. So pick it away from the floor. And then start to press hard through the palm that's on the block. Wrap the armpit, outer armpit towards the floor. And start to press a little harder down into the block. Keep lifting the chest away from the floor. So we're creating that stable platform for our shoulder blade to connect to. We want to keep our joints stable, not disjointed. And then keep everything still and just lift your palm off the block. And that's harder than it sounds. Sometimes we want to open the chest or drop the chest. So keep pushing the chest away from the floor. Palm back down. This time take the pinky edge of your hand down like you're karate chopping the block. Move the chest away from the floor and repeat. So press the pinky edge of the hand down, karate chop the block. Outer armpits really rotating towards the floor. And then lift bicep towards ear. Take it wide like the letter Y, tap it on the outside of the block, lift it up, ear height, bring it in, tap it on the inside of the block. So do that just a few times. See if you can move just the arm, just the shoulder without moving the chest or the spine. Good. And then sit up. Take that arm between your shoulder blades. Grab your elbow. Should feel like you have a little bit more access to that as you lean to the side. Good. We're going to take just a moment to kind of let go of some of that tension. So you can be on forearms or you can be on hands. Just allow yourself to maybe move through a cat-cow if that's what your body wants. Maybe you try creating shoulder circles like you're painting circles, big circles on your rib cage with your shoulder blades. Maybe you move side to side. And then keep your right hand on the ground, reach your left elbow under. So coming into a thread the needle, a twist. Stretch your right arm beside your ear long, fingers stretching forward. Just kind of let this go. And again, you might try thinking of rolling chest towards and away from the floor. And then right hand comes up to switch. Rocking chest towards your right bicep and then away. And you can see how what we did last week, this thoracic rotation, is kind of connected to the shoulders. You may find one side this is a little bit more challenging, and you may find that that's the shoulder that you also have found kind of kinks in throughout the practice. Good. So we're going to go now to the band. So you're going to wrap your band around your wrists, and we're going to come to the hands. So you're going to stretch the band wide, and then you're going to move your chest away from the floor. Take weight in your right hand and reach your left palm forward and tap. Take it back to where it matches your right hand, and then take it straight out to the side a little wider. And then take it back towards your knees. So basically you're drawing I don't know what you're drawing, but you're moving the left hand as the right hand stays still. If you want to, you can do a full semicircle. Switch, so this time right hand stays planted and we're going straight up, straight out, and straight back. So you're switching hands. But as you do this, notice if your chest collapses. Think of moving the chest away from the floor like we've been doing. So creating that stable base for your shoulder blade. As you move one hand, the other hand stays connected, pushing the floor away. And then draw that semicircle. Good. Release the band. Come into downward facing dog. So tuck your toes under, spread your palms wide, and reach your hips up and back. And you may notice that just what we've done so far has already made your down dog feel so much more open, like you have more space in your shoulders. Shoulders can be a big deterrent for down dog, and you might feel a little bit more stable. You might feel tired, so let's go ahead and step your right foot to your right thumb, and then lower your left knee down. So today's class, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the knees. We are in half kneeling like we often spend so much time. So you're going to tilt forward. You're going to bring your arms straight back behind you. Then you're going to take them out to the side, palms face forward. And then you're going to turn your thumbs as far back as you can as you bring it to your ears. And take it slightly wider, so it's like the letter Y, and make fists. And then can you roll just your arm bones inside of your shoulder sockets? And making as many rotations with the elbows straight, the fists gripping hard. And then take the arms back. Palms face in towards each other, reach the fingers back. Tilt forward more, tuck the toes, and come up to stand. Still tilting forward. Reach the fingers back. And move again, arms in the sockets. So palms turn up and in, and turn down and out. And then we're going to step to Warrior Two. I'm going to turn around so I'm facing you. Actually, I'm going to face away from you. So bring your arm straight out to this side. Right arm. Turn the palm up. Reach the arm up towards your ear. Drop the hand between your shoulder blades. Left hand comes behind your back, and then tilt open for a variation of reverse warrior. Come upright in your spine. Right palm facing down, left palm facing up. Bring your right hand behind your back. Left arm over your ear, side angle pose. Can you turn the left palm to face the wall behind you? Come upright. Both arms out, switch the palms. So right palm goes up, drop between your shoulder blades, left palm comes up your back, reverse your warrior. So elbow reaches up, side bending. Come up, arms straight, flip the palms again. Right hand goes up between your shoulder blades, left arm to your ear. come up, turn to face your right foot, frame your right foot, come back to down dog. Push the floor away. Drive the fingers forward and then lift the chest away from the floor. Create that stable base for your shoulder blades. Either bring your right knee to the ground and step up, or step your left foot to your left thumb. Come to half kneeling. So again, we're going to tilt forward. Arms beside your ears, make that V or that Y. Make fists, wrists flat. Do those rotations in your shoulder joint. See how much you can roll your biceps towards your ears or your deltoids towards your ears and then away. Bring the arms back. Fingers facing forward. Shift the toe under, shift forward. Staying in that bent over airplane pose. Lift the arms higher, lift the heads of the shoulders away from the floor. Bring the arms behind the back. Come up. And again into that warrior two position. So chest faces the long edge of your mat, arms out wide. Left palm up, right palm stays down. Reverse. Come back up. Switch the directions that the palms go. Maybe the right palm faces the wall behind you. Switch the palms. Reverse. Upright, switch the palms. Reverse. One more time each way. Reverse. Last time, reverse. Good. Turn to face your left leg. Frame your left foot. Come back to down dog. Release to your knees. Interlace your hands behind your back and move your fist away from the floor, lifting the top of your chest. Take your block. We're going to skip the weight. We're just going to use the block. Take the block between your palms. Come to half kneeling. We're going to go through this fast because we only have 3 minutes. So palms between, block between your palms. Take your arms beside your ears, tilt forward, press the palms. Tuck the back toe under, lift the back knee, bring the block behind your back between your palms, and lift the block off your butt. Come into that warrior two with the block on your right hand, elbow bent. Straighten the arm out in front of you. You're going to go into the reverse warrior, but you have to use the block. A palm faces up or else you'll lose the block. Good. Come back to palm up. Take the block under your arm. Take it behind your back, reverse your warrior. Good. One more time, under the arm, straight out. Take it over your ear. Block is on the top of your palm. Come back, flip it under your arm. Bring it behind your back, reach your left arm over. Good. Come back to kneel. Switch the left leg forward. Block between both hands. Bring it straight over your head. Tilt forward. Press the block, tuck the back toes, straighten the leg, bring the block behind your back. Lift it off your butt. Come to stand with it in your left hand. Chest facing the long edge of your mat, elbow bent. Press it straight out. Reverse your warrior, taking it over your head and reaching back. And then come back to that. Pass it under you, and I see I'm for pitch. Do that one more time. Hopefully you can hear me. There I go. Good. Press it out. Arms long. Yes. Take it down. Up straight. You can have your feet wide. Just stand up straight. Maybe you can't hear me at all. Cross one arm over your chest. Link it in your elbow crease. I know, Lisa, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now? There you go. Cross it over your elbow crease, stretch. Now that's kind of a bummer, it cut out that much. Switch to the other side. I froze in a really cute position. Do whatever, not record to see if maybe you can hear me again.